Hello everybody, welcome back to Just Roll It Already. I am your host Daryl. Welcome to the January challenge number 20 of the entire month of January, up to the 31 days. I am here to bring you my five least liked role-playing games that I have came across since yesterday. I have done my top 5 favorites that I enjoyed playing. Now, these are my opinions, and this is based on my personal taste and experiences for various reasons. If you do not agree with me, that is your opinion, and as a human being, we are all entitled to the right of different tastes. Some like chocolate, others like vanilla. Anyways, let's get right into it. Now, my first one that's going to come into my mind, they're no order in any way or form from greatest to least, by the way. I don't just like them. The first one that comes up to my mind is the Fate system. I mean, it's not really a game like a setting and stuff, but it is a game system, and I have never cared too much for it. It's a very ambiguous game. It's not overly complicated, but it is a little unusual, to say at the very least, and unusual in a way that it's not hard to understand. It's just difficult to justify some of the things, like, rather than having a stat, you have an aspect, and your aspect will determine how good you are in something and where that aspect entails, such as you say strong as an ox, or quick as a leopard, or fast reflexes, or a quick draw, or various other things. It can be as vague or as specific as you want it. And the amount of times I've tried it, and I've tried to like it, and I've tried to enjoy it, but every single time I have attempted it, I found myself wanting to play something with a little bit more structure. And it has been a very bumpy experience for me. It's not that the people I played with I didn't have fun with. It just was not to my preferences and not my cup of tea. Is it a good way to play just about any game that you want to play? Of course. But is it a game for everybody? No, it's not. But that is my first choice that came to my mind. My second one, I never played it, but I read it. I got interested with my hands on a PDF of it, and I couldn't quite understand it in the slightest. And this game is Nobilis. Now, Nobilis is a game that's loved and hated, but also out of print. And if you've heard of it, you will understand something that others don't. And that is because it's a diceless, rollless game. Let that sink in for a second. A diceless game. It's quite literally a bunch of people sitting around in a circle, agreeing to not be douchebags to each other, and play the game as a narrative storytelling and kind of a, not exactly a kumbaya kind of thing. Oh, damn bug, go away. But it has this bare wire feel with some, it feels like everyone must agree. Everyone feels like it must be everyone to agree that not to be a douchebag. Rule 2, everyone agree to be not to be a douchebag. And rule 3, and so on and so on. Everything has led up to a gentleman's agreement, and from what I could pick up, and it does have a few aspects to it that are interesting, but they're not even worth mentioning because it's just such a bland, difficult to understand game. It doesn't really quite fit my fancy. The next one. It's going to have to be actually, I'm going to go with this one too. This one is possibly the only one I'm going to go out and say this, but for personal reasons, it is my most hated game that I have ever came across. And not because the game is bad, not because the system is bad, not because the setting is bad. I like all of them. It has been ruined for me because of a group. And I am going to say Call of Cthulhu. Now that I said it, I know that I'm hearing a bunch of the Lovecraftian fans sharpening their pitchforks as they prepare to take me to Innsmouth, where I'll be eaten by the fish people. But a little context really quickly. I don't like this game because the group I first played it with ever killed me off repeatedly. At first, as somebody being a douchebag, and then the group followed suit because they thought it was funny. And they thought it would be okay to beat up on me, even though I was helping out and being nice to them and generally a good gamer. And here I am being bullied at a table at Call of Cthulhu because they feel like it. And ever since then, it has left a very bad taste in my mouth. And the few times I've played it after, I did have a good time, but it has led me to have almost a traumatized effect whenever somebody wants me to play it with them. Will I ever get over this phobia? Probably. But will I forget what happened? Not really. And this could have happened to any other game. Some of them could be good games, other good games too. Others could have been horrible games. But that's my number 3. Now, number 4. A lot of people don't like this game too. But the reason I don't like it is because it didn't really feel like a role-playing game. It felt like a board game with role-playing rules. Dungeons & Dragons 4th Edition. Now, not going to rag on the people who like Dungeons & Dragons 4th Edition and who continually avidly play it. That is up to you. More power to you if you enjoy it, but I've never really quite got into it. It felt like there was too many additives to it. Like, what do they call them? Modules? No. Accessories. There we go. Accessories is what I'm thinking for when you play the game, such as action cards, action point tokens, various. It's almost written as if you have to have a miniature. Then there is the minion rule, and then there's these other rules that make you feel like this is just a board game with role-playing elements. And that's pretty much how Dungeons & Dragons started out with, but this was not exactly what I wanted to be. It was too simplified in some aspects and then over-gamified in another. And it left very little, it felt like there was very little role-playing encouraged in the system. And I am a role player. I enjoy getting into a character. I like building stories. I like building worlds. And I like being able to interact with each other in character, out of character, rather than saying, okay, I'm going to move here, here, here. It felt like I was playing a miniature war game. I like Warhammer 40k, but I don't want to be role-playing it while I'm using my miniatures on the battlefield, trying to use my bucket of dice as my orc horde goes forward, screaming "wah," charging into the ranks of Chaos Space Marines. But yeah, that's how I felt. And finally, number 5. This one's an old one, a very old one. This has been a game that I didn't like because I didn't even play it at all. And I stopped at character creation. I am talking about Macross, also known as Robotech. Now, if you grew up in the 80s and the 90s, you will know what this is. You've understood the anime is. It's been on Netflix before, and I'm sure you can find episodes of it on YouTube or even somewhere on the internet in the annuals of it. It is a very boring show, but it did have an interesting premise where everyone, there's this whole House of Noble things, and there's technology and giant robots and mechs, and not going to sit there and rag on it. I've enjoyed Gundam when growing up, but this was very odd. And the group I played with, we were building characters and we were doing all these roles and stuff. I don't remember exactly how the whole thing went, but it took me 4 hours to make a damn character. And even then, the rules were vague at best, and that alone did not account to the type of mech you were riding in. And then on top of that, well, how much you could salvage, and on top of that, where if you incurred any injuries, and on top of that, how long was your recovery time? And it keeps on going and going and going and going. It felt like I was playing an Excel spreadsheet before the game even started. EVE Online was less complicated than this. And that game is complicated as hell. But yeah, those are my least 5 favorite games I've ever played. So, if you have something that's worse than what I've named before, please put them down below, because I'd love to look into it. And yes, I'm aware of the one game system called Fatal, but we don't talk about that. Anyways, I'm Daryl from Just Roll Already. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow.